Hello, folks. Good evening. Good evening. Good night. Good night. I am here. I am here on a cold. What's that cold evening? Man, November 1st. November 1st already. Can you believe it? Can you believe it is November 1st already? Oh, man. And we're on to episode number 2 of the podcast known as Around Town. Around Town. So, episode 2. What is the topic for episode 2? Let's see. Let's pop that up on the screen real quick. Oh, yeah. Mental health and relationship. I hope I spelled that right. I got it? Yeah, I got it right. I think I did. When you simply don't know. We're going to explore that topic today. And we are going to talk about it. A lot to touch on when it comes to this topic, when it comes to mental health, and we're gonna try to hit as much as possible as we can. You're on Facebook Live. Welcome to those who are logged in on Facebook Live. Welcome to those who are on YouTube. Welcome to those who might be on Twitch. Or if you're listening on the app, on the radio station app, welcome. Welcome. A lot of options, a lot of options. Let me show you. If you want to get the app, go download the app. That's how it's spelled, TYMEZINTL radio. You can get it on iPhone, you can get it on Android. And if you can hear me loud and clear, I'd appreciate a thumbs up somewhere from somebody. If you can hear me, I appreciate a thumbs up. And I welcome everyone to join in the conversation. You don't be afraid. If you want to join in the conversation, you're more than welcome to join in. I can have you join as a panel. I send you a link and I can invite you to join the conversation. Video is really simple. If you have a phone, I can send a link to your phone. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You just click on the link, put a name in, and you're in on the conversation. So it's really simple. Or if you simply just want to make a phone call, if you want to call in, the option is available as well. 413-301-6215. And you can definitely give a call if you just want to chime in and say what's up and give your input on the conversation. So there's plenty of options, man. I don't want to, like I always tell you from last episode, I don't want to be the only one on here talking. I don't want to be talking to myself. I am not that expert on these topics, so therefore, I don't want to be the one out here just spitting out words. So I invite people who have an opinion on these matters to join the conversation because opinion matters. A lot of it is opinion matters. All right, so join in the conversation. All right, if you, it's a broad topic. Mental health is a broad topic and it affects us all, especially if you know somebody that's going through it, and even worse if you're in a relationship with somebody with mental health. It can be really challenging. I would love to hear the experiences you can have. Share that with us. And the hope is that someone listening, someone out there, definitely myself, can learn a lot more from just having a conversation on these topics. So, please, like I said, chime in, join the panel. I'll send you a link. If you want to invite, I'll send you a link. You just have to click on the link, put a name in, and you're in on the conversation. It's a video link. Or if you just want to make a phone call, you can call in on that number that's scrolling across your screen right now. Okay? So we're gonna get started in another couple of minutes. I think everything is all set up. I think you can hear me. If you can hear me, like I said, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes and we get going on this topic. Like I said, couple more minutes. All right, that was ugly. All right, all right. Think we're good. Like I said earlier, man, if you want to join the chat, definitely let me know. I send you a link and we'll get that going. All right. Let's get it started. Like I said, if you're in earshot, if you're listening, please share up the live. I want people to hear this conversation. I want people to join in the conversation. So please share so everyone can get a piece of this conversation. All right. So, again, the topic is mental health and relationship. All right, as you can see on your screen there, mental health and relationships. And basically, when you simply don't know. And this is from the perspective of, um, how mental health can affect the relationship. So basically, in a relationship with someone who has a mental health issue, or whether it's something that they were born with or something that they develop, and we're gonna talk about a lot of things today. All right, so again, please share up the live, share it with your friends, share it on your social media so we can get more people listening. Because again, it's a topic that needs to be discussed. It's a topic in our community that's not talked about enough, and we need to really sit down and share whatever knowledge we can find about this topic and bring it to the forefront. Okay, so I'm gonna start out with giving you an example of um, a situation that I went through years ago, many many years ago. I used to work at the airport during security time, and it's it's a kind of job that's a lot of people can consider a stressful job. It was a stressful job. For different reasons, it's stressful. Whether it's the pressure of the type of work that you're dealing with, dealing with security, dealing with people, dealing with a lot of um, people that come through, and some of them can be rude, some of them can be unpleasant, some of them for whatever reason. So it was that, and then you have other situations where the demand of the job, where you may not have the time off on a holiday to spend with family, whatever it is. So it's plenty of different scenarios why a job like that could be stressful. In my case, I was supervising, and I was supervising a lot of folks, and dealing with those people, and also dealing with, let me check something here. Think I lost connection. Let me pick that back up. Okay. And also dealing with you know family times. I was young. I was a young guy. Sorry for the. I was a young guy, so I was dealing with that. So it becomes a little stressful situation. But I can remember at the time going through. I can tell you that in the moment, I didn't feel stress. I didn't feel stress whatsoever. All I knew was a young 21-year-old kid, and I was getting paid well, and I was doing my thing. So there was no feeling of stress there whatsoever. So it got to a point where my hair started falling out. I had little patches, like little bald spots, not just one, two, probably about four or five little bald spots. I don't know if people can remember me at that time, but little bald spots popping up in my head, and I'm like, what the heck is this? So that in itself, that happening is in itself is a stress. But I had no clue what it was, and the people around me really didn't know how to explain what that was either. Um, but what ended up happening, I eventually lost that job. Maybe about a year after that, or 6 months after that, sometime like that, and I lost the job. And it wasn't until I was home away from that job, that my hair started growing back, and the feeling I started to have was like weights lifted off my shoulder after just being home and able to relax, and and not having to worry about the stress of that type of job. And I couldn't at the time pinpoint the reason why I was having boss up until after the fact. I put it together, and I says I was really stressed. So I say that to say this. Sometimes you go through situations, and when you're in the moment in the situations, you don't know, you don't feel it, you don't know you're stressed, and that's a high possibility that things like that can happen. You just don't know that you're stressful, or you're stressed out. Okay, so that's one possibility that can happen to anybody that's going through a situation. Um, um, Stress can definitely lead to mental breakdown. Okay, definitely can lead to mental breakdown. So I brought up stress is one of the things that can definitely lead to a mental breakdown. So um, be careful, be aware, or try your best to be aware of the fact that um, not because you can't necessarily identify that you're being stressed, don't mean it's not happening to you. Or if somebody can next to you can point out or say something to you like, you might be acting a little bit different. Don't just bypass it and say, oh, that's nothing. It may not be just nothing. It might be something. So don't disregard observations from family members and peers and things like that. Okay, so definitely keep that in mind. One of the questions I wanted to ask, I wanted to bring up is, once you have some kind of mental break, or you have some kind of mental breaks, whatever it is, does it mean that you stay with that? Is that with you for the rest of your life? Can you recover from it? Can you recover from a mental break? It depends. It depends on whether or the type of mental break that you may have, because there's treatments out there, so you definitely can cope with it, can deal with it. So there's treatments out there, so um, there's possibilities for recovery, and it all depends on what kind it is. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Now, when you're in a relationship with someone who, say, let's just go back to the stress part of it, that's something that can definitely affect the relationship. So that's why I kind of associate mental health and the relationship, because it's something that can affect the relationship. And for a lot of people, if you ignore some of the signs that you may be having, or a change in mood or attitude that you may have in when it comes to stressors or some kind of mental illness, you know, you know, it's important to take time out where you can listen to your partner, because again they might be seeing changes that you may not see. So take heed to your partner, because again they can see some of the things that you may miss. All right, so keep those in mind. um Again, if you're in earshot, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I want to make sure people can hear me clear, loud and clear. And again, if you want to join the conversation, if you want to join the live, there's a phone call that you can make. The line is up there, 301-6215. Or if you would like to be on the panel, definitely I can send you a link, and we can have you join in on the panel, and we start discuss some of these things that we're going to talk about. All right. And even if you have a questions that you want to ask, or a comment that you want to make, leave a comment. You're joining on the live. You could definitely leave a comment, and say something to you. Something, some piece, made some chime in, whatever you want to chime in. Let me have some conversation. Have it going. Let's talk about different type of mental illness. There are, let's just say, multiple different types of mental illness. Multiple different types. So it's not mental illness is not just one type of things. You could have clinical depressions. Clinical depression refer to persistently depressed mood, or loss of interest in activities that you normally would have. That's referring to clinical depression. Um, does it mean that somebody have to diagnose you with a clinical depression? Usually does. It's not, you know, clinical implies that somebody with clinical knowledge or clinical experience diagnose you with that thing, with that type of depression. Anxiety disorder. You worry. worrisome, anxiety, fear. Usually you worry about things that, oh, something's gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and a lot of it can be from experience where you would develop some kind of anxiety disorder. Um, you may have some kind of trauma or some kind of memory or some kind of experience that will, you know, make you develop some anxiousness over certain things. I've had situations where people would tell me they've had a traumatic experience at one point and it just stays with them. They can't get over with it. It's kind of tied in, traumatic experience kind of tied in with another type of disorder, but it can also make you develop anxiety over, situations. But you mainly focus on worrying or fear of certain things. Another type of disorder, mental illness, is bipolar disorder, mood swings. You got depressive lows and manic highs. Definitely mood swings. Um, I've heard somebody told me before that sometimes when you might be high on something, it could be also mean that you have mood swings. You have swings. Depend you on one end one day, and the next day you're on a whole different spectrum. You're high energy one day, and the next day you might be, just blah. But it could possibly be that you might be suffering from bipolar disorder, but it refers to just depressive lows and manic highs. That's what bipolar refers to. Dementia, another type of mental illness that might come later on in life, but um, it may not. It could simply be, usually it's with the older folks that you would see dementia popping in, but I haven't heard too much of younger people where it kicks in. But I would imagine if you're going through something happens where dementia can kick in at a younger age, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be 60 or 75 to have dementia. It could be younger. But dementia refers to thinking and social symptoms that interfere with functions, with daily functioning. All right. Um, so that's dementia. ADD, attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADD. Where it refers to, you have attentive difficulties, attention difficulties, or hyperactivity or impulsiveness. That's ADD. Okay. Another one is schizophrenia, that affects the personal ability to think, feel, and behave clearly. So, schizophrenia. You're not thinking right. You're not behaving right. You just don't feel right. Obsessive compulsive. Uh, I've seen some of this around. Excessive thoughts that leads to repetitive behavior. Just thinking that you have to do something. Obsessive compulsive. You have to close you have to. I had a coworker at one point where when she closed a door, she has to check it 4 or 5 times that it's locked before they can leave. That's I seen her one day. It was something I didn't know that she had that behavior until I seen it, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then she kind of explained that that she has to check the door probably 5 times, 4 or 5 times, that it's locked before she can move on, and she cannot leave until she's satisfied that requirement for that behavior. And it may not be just that. It could be other types of things where somebody have to check their rear view mirror before they get out of the car, or there's just a bunch of things. Could be cleaning. You have to clean, you have to wash your hands, all types of obsessive compulsive. Autism, autism refers to the serious development disorder that impairs the ability to communicate or interact. So that's that's more on the autism spectrum. All right, so you have that. Could be another a big one is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's it's a difficulty with a person recovering from a experience or something that they witness, some kind of terrific traumatic event, terrific event. So they have a trouble recovering from things like that. You might see that more common with military folks, but it doesn't mean that it's just in military. So again, PTSD. It's another type of mental illness. So there's multiple different type of mental illness that that you might find around. But the one that we kind of was focusing on today's topic has to do with um, the depression type, depressive type. All right, and interestingly enough, it's the most common type of mental illness in the United States. All right, and the depression is something like a prolonged feeling of sadness, hopelessness. Despairs are leading to loss of interest in activities that you used to enjoy. I used to go like to playing soccer, and I'm depressed. So I don't want to. I don't want to go deal with that anymore. I don't want to go play soccer anymore because I'm feeling depressed. Something happened, or the energy. You don't have the energy to do things anymore. Trouble sleeping, thoughts of death or suicide. Most common type is that's that depressive type, and it's probably the most common one. It is the most common one that's affecting the U.S. in the USA. Don't have any stats on the rest of the world, but that's the one that's affected in the USA. They say in the USA there's 6% of women versus 4% of men that is dealing with depression right now, and this is a current stats within the last couple of years. Current stats. Makes you wonder. Is just like why does depression affects women more than men? And it could be a multiple of different reasons. There's a lot of makeup, a lot of things that affect why it would be affecting more women than men. I'm gonna look at it in a little bit, but overall though, overall though, in the U.S. as of 2021, they're saying even to add to that 6% of women and the total the depression is for 6%, but overall mental illness, there's 27% of females report some type of mental illness, and that's compared to 18% of males. And again, even that stat alone is telling you that it affects more females than it affect males. All right. I wonder why that is though. Why does female get why does that affect why does mental illness why does female get that stigma attached to them? I mean, we have I mean men who is in a male female relationship tend to have to deal with that as well too. So we get the brunt of some of that as well. But I wonder why. Anybody would want to chime in and says why does mental health affect women more? I know you guys got females have to deal with babies. You have to deal with if you have to go to work, you deal with work. You have to, and it might be tied into what we talked about last time too. You know, it might quite possibly be tied into that. But why? why do you feel like female, or why does the stat say female is diagnosed more with mental health issues than with males? And I was kind of shocked by that, because I was thinking that because men have to deal with female, that we would have be under more stress than mental stress than females would. But I guess I was wrong. It's the other way around, you know. So does it mean that females are more dealing with mental illness because they have to deal with men? I don't know. Are men that hard to deal with? I honestly thought it was reversed, but like that story that goes on and it says, like, you know, a woman asked their men to, give him the world, give him everything, and man went to God and says, or Jesus, it says, the woman wants the world, or she wants a bridge from something like that. I don't even remember the full story, but it was simply like, you know, man went to God and says, "Do you want does I don't I'm trying to remember the damn story. I can't remember it." But ultimately what it comes down to is that you know God said to men that if they want a bridge from here to China or something like that, and then God says, you know, so I'd rather give them the world than build a bridge or something like that. Basically, the end of it is that you can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to satisfy the woman's needs. So that alone is stressful enough. But I was referring to that as to say, well, then maybe women will stress men more out than men stress women out. But the stats says that it's completely different from that. It's completely different. That women are more um, dealing with mental illness than men are by double the margin as well, according to the statisticians. Double the margin. Men deal with more. Women deal with more mental illness than men do. And they also went out and highlighted some of the reasons why a woman might be dealing with more mental illness too is um, because women tend to put more emphasis on their physical appearance. So I think women are more, put more stress on themselves to be, maybe because of society needs, because men define what appearance should be, and therefore they put the stress on themselves to say, well, then you know what, um, I'm gonna be extra stress. I'm gonna make myself extra stressed to stressful to be, just to have, you know, create that appearance for the world, I guess. Another reason why a woman might be dealing with more stressful situation is they're expected to be more sympathetic, warm, and friendly to the world. So that's another stressor that women have to deal with. But again, I would ask that question, and I asked this questions last podcast is this something that is expected of women, or just women feel like it's expected of them, and therefore they put that themselves in that situations to prove that you know they have to be a certain way. I don't know. Of course we men like to see women looking attractive, but you, my attractiveness to a female, my what attract me to a female, one female doesn't mean the next guy has the same kind of attraction. So you going out and saying that you're gonna have to be this way for men, maybe a downfall, because what's attractive to me is not it's not the same attractive to our next person. So, but that's just part of the thinking. It's an added stress that you put on yourself to try to please, you know, people. So we gotta be careful of that. Women face more discrimination whether it's pay in the workplace or negative comments or wherever it is. But they say women face more discrimination, and that might be adding to mental illness. You know, women don't match up in the workplace because of what the boss says or what the company says, and therefore, they end up being stressed about things like that, where they have to feel like they have to work extra hard to match up to the paycheck. So, or you may have negative comments in the sense that, oh, you can't handle that, or you can't do this kind of work, or whatever it is. So it's just added stress, mental stress to a female in that form. And a huge one, a big, huge one that's gonna deal with, it's gonna bring on mental illness in females is that women are 4 times more likely to be victims of rape, attempted rape, and sexual assault. Okay, 4 times. That alone is cause for mental anguish. So women have to deal with that. So that could quite possibly the reason why you have twice as many females with mental illness than males do. That alone, that statistics alone is huge. But it's a sad statistic, but it is a true statistic, and it's women are 4 times more likely to be victims of rape, attempted rape, and sexual assault. All right, so in the United States alone, 19 million women have been stalked by someone. 19 million. You know what the number is for males? Guess what the number is for males versus 19 million? Only 5 million men. Not saying anything is, not saying this should be a number, but huge. 19 million women are stalked in the United States versus 5 million. So that alone is an additional stress on females that's could be driving that number where it is at. So it's some sad statistics, man. But these things, according to people, these things add to the mental anguish um, that people are facing. And again, the number for female is higher than male, but mental illness doesn't discriminate. It can affect whether male or female. It can affect one or the other. So, but these are some of the things that affect those mental illness. Um, when it comes to numbers for age, age differences, 18 to 25, age 18 to 25 has the highest percentage of mental illness in the United States as of 2021. 18 to 25. So it makes you wonder, what does an 18-year-old have to stress about so much? 19-year-old, 20-year-old, what do they have to stress about so much that it would cause mental illness? And that's something that's actually a good question. That's probably a good topic for another podcast. Is just like to having some um, young guys, young age, young adults, just starting adulthood, coming out of teenage years. What are some of the stressors? What are some of the things that you have to deal with at that age? And that should be something to talk about as well. Because I mean, if you're just coming out of high school and you have to deal with the mental illness, anguishes, for whatever reason, and you're just starting out adulthood and you have to deal with that. That's something that maybe we need to tap into as a society, because we can't send our young adults out there starting life, starting adulthood, being stressed already. Something is wrong with that system right there. That needs to be addressed. That needs to be fixed. And we as adults, we know that it doesn't get any easier, really, because you start having kids, you have jobs, you have house to worry about, you have bills to take care of, you have, so if you starting out at 18 being extra stressed and starting to deal with these mental anguish, then gosh, it's gonna get worse, right? But age 18 to 25, 33% of age 18 to 25 um, is dealing with mental illness in America. From the age of 18 to 25, 33%. And that's the highest number of all the age group. 26 to 49, which is, I'm in that age, 26 to 49, 5% lower, 28% of age 26 to 49 people in the United States have reported some kind of mental illness. All right? So, if you add up those two right there, you have over 60% of that age group that's reporting mental illness. Ah. And then as you go past 50, 50 and over, 50 and over, I guess that's the best age because they saying 15% of that age group um, report mental illness. That's this is again something to talk to some young teenagers, young adults, as to say, what are some of the things that you're going through? You know, what's causing you mental anguish, right? And again, you start now 18, and you're going into relationships, and you're bringing this with you. Um, it's doomed. It's doomed. Society is doomed if we're gonna do that. Welcome, Glow. Thanks for the comment. How are you? Thanks for joining the comment. But yes, it's I'm hoping that we can start a conversation about mental illness. Start the conversation. I'm sure it's been talked about a lot, but more people need to hear it becomes common nature. It should be rolling off tongues so people can understand that it's not something that tabooed. So Mike, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. It should be something that should be rolling off tongue so people don't feel like it's a taboo subject. All right. Um, it's a huge number that's affecting our community, and it needs to be talked about. Um, Another question that came into mind when I thought about this topic is, what is the benchmark for mental illness? And by that I mean, who determine at what point you're mentally ill or you're mentally stable? Is there a line that says, okay, if you cross that line, you're now mentally ill. If you cross that line, if you're on that side, then you're mentally okay. Who determines that? Who makes that mark? Is that what questions do you ask, even yourself, to help you determine whether or not you're dealing with mental illness or not? Full disclosure, I've asked myself plenty of times, and I've reached out to even some of my friends. I'm like, does this sound weird if I act this way? And I ask myself that question all the time. It's just like, am I thinking right? Is my mental right? If I think this way, if I don't think, and the reason why I ask that questions, and the reason why the subtopic is um, when you simply don't know. And just to get into the topic, get into it now, is when you simply don't know. It's like, if you're the person dealing with mental illness, how do you know? What questions do you ask yourself? And if somebody tells you, is it? Are you gonna believe it? Is it something that Is there a questionnaire that you can ask yourself? Is you fill out a questionnaire and says, okay, damn, I might be on that line. I maybe should go get help. So and we can ask questions. We could talk about this all the time, but if you're the person that's dealing with it, when how do you get to that point where you go seek help? That's the basic question. How do you get to that point where you go seek help? And I don't know. I don't know who determines that. Who, how it's a tough. It's one of them subjects that's so hard to grasp, and I kind of wish that I have somebody who can even touch on that a little bit, to say, well, then this is what it feels like. There's so many mass shooting that happens in the U.S. I don't know what the number is right now, where what number we're at right now, but um, I don't know like I said, I don't know where the number is right now, where we, the number of mass shooting in in this country. But if I even asked myself about um, that guy Cord in Maine that did that shooting and then killed himself afterwards. Why didn't mental illness? I asked myself, why didn't mental illness tell you to just go take care of yourself? Unfortunately, I'm sorry if I have to say it like that, but why did you have to go take care of, shoot 10, 15, 18 other people first before yourself? Did something trigger in your mind where you say, um, oh man, I messed up? Or was it something that it was all part of the plan? I don't know. Because, somebody who's an expert on this matter maybe can explain what might have happened in that situation. But those are some of the questions that you have to ask. If 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 I have thoughts of, hmm, let's just say, I'm at work and somebody pissed me off that bad, and I have thoughts of wanting to knock somebody out. That's just, you people hear people say it all the time. I want to knock my boss out. Is that a form of mental illness, or is this? It's obviously it's a aggressive behavior. It's definitely aggressive behavior, but does aggressive behavior leads to mental illness? At what point do you realize, like, damn, it's not just being aggressive anymore? It might be, I might have something more serious than that. We need to define it properly. There's mental illness that is an official diagnosis, but then there is mental illness which is we should mental health which we should all consider. So there's an official diagnosis for mental illness, which is what, clinical depression. I mentioned that earlier. I think that's what I think they're all okay. I guess they all have to be diagnosed by a professional, I guess. But what if you have somebody that don't want to go to get diagnosed? Is That's part of the issue right now. Is like we have people that don't want to talk about it. So what are the likelihood of you having somebody who's having these feelings to go find somebody to get officially diagnosed and get treated? It's probably not. It's probably unlikely, and that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with in society today. Is that it's a stigma. I've seen situations where folks feel like I am beyond mental illness, so therefore it can't be mental illness, and it quite possibly might be that that's the denial is probably part of the first problems of mental illness, denying the fact that you could be mentally ill. You know, so I think as a society we have to get to some kind of point where we have to make it okay. Like Glow said, it should be a universal language. We have to get to a point where people would want to know that a certain feelings that they're having is are should be addressed. If I'm feeling this kind of way, can you tell? We do it when we go to the doctors. Sorry. We do it when we go to the doctor. If as we get older, we we have a headache for couple few 3 days, we go to the doctor and says, "Oh gosh, something might be wrong." We have a stomach ache, we run to the doctor. Something might be wrong. But when we get to that certain point of we feeling a certain kind of way, we're like, "No, let's hold back. We can't be looked at as somebody that's might be depressed." That's the stigma. And like Glow says, it should be a universal language. Can we? I mean, eventually it's gonna have to get there because if you notice these days that people are talking about it more and more. Mental illness, they're talking about it more and more. So eventually we're gonna get there. I just feel like we're not getting there fast enough. You know, we're not getting there fast enough because too many things are happening. Too many things are happening to not just the people that are dealing with it, but the people around them. When you see kids that are victim of someone with a mental illness, eh, it's even more gut wrenching than you know other lives that are taken. But when kids, innocent kids, are taken too, it's it's really sad. It's really really sad, and if that alone can't get people to talk about it, then you know what will? What definitely will? Um, Glow. I hope that we can normalize these conversations where it's not a stigma anymore. I really hope so. Uh, this is, like I said, this is such a broad topic that I think that it will only hit home when we have somebody who's dealing with it um, speak up more about it. But again, maybe even before we even get there, we need to get people to say, okay, let me just explore what I'm feeling. If it's something that is not just, uh, so let, let me just explore that what I'm feeling is not more than just a feeling. You know, we have to get to that point. We have to get to that point where you know, it may not be, because like Mike says, there's temporary insanity and there's mental illness. Okay, see, that's one of the things that hi 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 Mike's wife. How are you doing? I appreciate you listening to the conversation. Thank you. Um, temporary insanity too. Um, so I get there's temporary insanity and there's mental illness. So one of the questions I asked earlier is, do you recover from mental illness? Is it called mental illness if you recover from it? Temporary insanity, does that mean that you're at risk of developing that insanity, that temporary insanity again over and over and over again? You know, somebody had a mental break at one point. Are they now susceptible for having that mental break again? That's one of the questions I was curious about earlier. So it's just one of the questions I wrote down. Let me see if I could find it here. Let's see. So if there's a trigger, if there's a trigger that's causing a reaction, and then that is that mental illness, or is that just a temporary insanity? And then if you had that break, does it mean that you're likely to have that break again? And then we touched on PTSD earlier as well too, is where we talk about um, a event, a traumatic event that caused that kind of um, stress on you. That traumatic event that caused that stress, whether it's something that you've seen or you've been through in your life as well. So um, it's it's a lot of questions, but at the end of the day, too, is the question I was thinking of earlier is: does strong-mindedness prevent people from seeking help? Do you feel like because you're supposed to be this strong person, you're not supposed to have you're not supposed to have or because as a society we look at it as a weakness to have a mental illness, because we look at it as a weakness. So now you feel like you cannot be weak mentally, and you're strong minded. So now, even though you're exhibiting signs of mental illness, you're holding yourself back up from seeking help because you feel like, okay, I'm strong minded. I can't be dealing with this. So strong mindedness prevent people from seeking help. So back to the temporary insanity thing. This is what temporary insanity. Mental illness is diagnosed from a doctor to a point where you need medications, to a point where you are listening to voices in your head. That is diagnosed and what you are born with. So the question I had about that is: you're having these situations in your head, but the problem is a lot of us don't want to go seek help. We don't want to go to therapy. We don't want to go seek help. We don't want to deal with the fact that you might be dealing with a mental illness, whether it's your strong mindedness or other reasons. You just don't want to do it. You don't want people to look at you as a weak minded person, so you don't go seek that help. So how do you get diagnosed with it? Who's gonna you're not gonna go to the doctor to go get help. So then now what? Now what? And that's what the society issue is, that there's so many people out there who is struggling with some form of mental illness, whether it's a high level or a low level of it, if that's a possibility, and they simply refuse to go say, let me go get another opinion about what's going on in my head. And therefore they're never diagnosed with it, and therefore you'll never know about it until they snap and do something drastic and crazy. I don't want to use the word crazy, but the thing that they do becomes crazy. Not them are crazy, but the things that they do. Okay? We have to, again, is maybe it's the conversation that's going to say, um, let me just go check. Even if it's on a private situations where you could call somebody and talk to somebody. I said it before earlier, and I'll say it again. I am not afraid to ask my friends to say, hey, is this weird that I did this? What do you think about this? And I hope that you have friends around you who can be honest with you and says, listen, that something is wrong with what you did was not right, as opposed to just being, you know, agreeing with you just to agree with you because they're so-called friends. Need friends around you who can be real and honest with you and says, listen, man, what you did is not cool. And that might snap something in somebody's head and says, damn, what I was thinking wasn't cool, or what I did wasn't cool. And maybe that's where it needs to start. Be a friend, be a real friend, and be 100% honest with people around you. Start, and don't be fake, and don't tell people, don't be a yes man and tell people what they want to hear. Maybe that's the wake up call that people need. Right. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you, Glow. Just our predecessors, our generations prior to us, that has filled our brains with the fact that, you know, that's you have to be strong minded. You have to you are if you said you need mental help, then you're just weak. All right, and that's the thing. That's the stigma. It's just like you're weak because you ask for help, because you want to go seek help. But thank God, there's a lot of advocates out there now, a lot of celebrities who are coming out front and saying that, listen, um, it's okay. It's okay to say, let me go talk to a therapist. Let me go talk to somebody. Let me go talk to a friend, and just get an opinion. Just get an opinion. Even if you don't want to go to a therapist or whatever it is, let me just get an opinion about the way I'm feeling. Maybe you can shed a light on to say, well then, change or I don't know. What you're thinking is not fully where it needs to be, or it's not right. But like I always said, I don't want to be the one to sit around and talk and talk. I'm not an expert on these topics. I feel strongly about it because about mental health, because I've been around it. I don't necessarily fully understand it. I was hoping that there's some people who are trained to be our expert in this field that would come on and talk about it a little bit more. Somebody who's going through it would come on and talk about it a little bit more, and that way we can help spread the word and help identify certain resources or certain things that people can look for within themselves, and and um, and help them to maybe rethink, how they look at mental illness. And that was the hope of this. Um, and maybe it's just somebody will watch this a week or 2 weeks or a year from now, and maybe we'll have another conversation about it, and we'll do it all over with some clinical masterminds who can help us to identify certain things within ourselves. Because again, the reason why I talk about these things is things that I want to know. I'm not going to say that I question myself all the time, but there are certain feelings that I do get that I'm thinking to myself, does that thinking is, should I know, I think I'm going to ask somebody why about that. And I've done it, like I said, I've done it before. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. And a lot of times disagreements, when you have disagreements between certain topics, these are some of the times when I usually ask myself, you know, should I have thought that way? Why do I think that way? And I would reach out and I ask somebody, All right. Ah, what we got here, Mike? Sometimes we do crazy shit and it's too late, and you do something to regret doing it. You go to jail and die. I agree. Yep. It's sad. It's a sad world, right? The world, this world, man, there's just so much stressors in this world, so many reasons to go psycho in this world. It's never ending. It's never ending, never ending. Uh-oh, here's another stressor right here. Oh gosh. You know, I think we need to be aware of holiday blues. It's truly a hard time for many, and sometimes we need to be aware of and just ask someone, how are you? Truly, how are you doing? Absolutely, I agree. And that's another stressor that we brought on ourselves, because we create this world where on holidays we have to spend extra money. We have to go the extra mile. We always have to top the previous years. And even though we have bills that we have to pay, we figure, well, let's spend. We had a trunk or treat at my job, and I hear people saying they spent $400 on candies, $300 on candies and stuff like that. And granted, it's for a good cause. It's for the kids to come out and celebrate that tradition of, you know, the thank the Halloween and things like that. But um, and there's good that comes out of it. But you ask yourself, did they use their rent money to or their food money to spend $400 on candy for a situation? It's just holidays. You're right. Holidays put a lot of stress on us, and it's unfortunate. But we just have to, you know, we really have to be mindful of the situations we put ourselves in. Well, I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna ban them. There we go. I'm getting these people, these spam people that are coming in. That person got banned. Haha. Bye. Anyway, um, to wrap up this conversation, I know I want to put some things out there where folks can seek help. There are hotlines out there. There are resources out there that people can call. Um, confidential, confidential hotlines that we call. That's the first one on there. It's a mental health. It's a free, confidential. You don't need insurance. They have 200 plus language that you could interpret in. Even if you're hard of hearing or deaf, there's ways to get in there. And you could call our text 833-733-2445 24/7. So there's places out there you could reach out to if you don't even want to tell your friend about it. Again, this is free and confidential, a helpline where you can call or text, and someone will be there 24/7 to help you out, to talk to you, um, and give you some free advice. There's also another one in here in this is Massachusetts. There's a website, mental health helpline, masshelpline.com. You could go on there and you could get help. Again, these are free and confidential lines. You could reach out on your own time, privately. If you just need somebody to talk to, someone who just want to listen to you about anything that you're dealing with. Speak to somebody. Text home to 741-741. 741-741. Text HOME to 741-741. And you could speak to someone about any issues that you might be going through. And these are helplines. These are places where you could go to seek help. Um, there's a 988 suicide and crisis lifeline. Dial 988 could get you to someone that you could speak with. Most jobs that I know of have EAP, Employee Assistant Programs. There goes Glow. Glow said it. I think up 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline. Thank you, Glow. Um, most jobs have EAPs, Employee Assistant Programs. I'm surprised that jobs don't really advertise this more, because even at the job itself, you're dealing with people that might be, EAP is huge, where it's not just help for crisis or mental situations you're going through. They can help you with finances, how to wrap up your finances, and dealing with situations, alcoholism. Um, if you smoke, in addictions, all of that stuff is in most jobs have EAPs, and I'm surprised they don't advertise it more often. And I'm hoping the reason why they don't do it is because they don't they the job really have to pay, or I think the job pays for it, or whatever insurance you have pay for it. But typically how it works is, if you're dealing with a situation and you reach out to EAP and you have to take a break from the job, they cannot fire you from that job. Typically that's how it works. People need to know that. You're dealing with a addiction of any sort and you have to go get help. You have to go check into a addiction place. Your job cannot fire you for the time off you're away while you're getting help. Okay? Um, huge thing to know about. People need to spread the word about that, because I guarantee a lot of people don't know about EAPs. Okay, but it's there. Um, Many health insurance companies, they cover online therapy sessions. You can um, you can talk to professionals, or most health insurance actually cover therapy sessions. If you want to go to a therapist, they will cover it, or at least cover most of the costs, or even you might be free, or even if you have to pay a little bit, maybe a copay or something like that. But most jobs these days will cover, most health insurance will cover therapy sessions. All right, it's not something that a lot of jobs tell you about either. That's something that should be brought to the forefront. Maybe you should have some signs up in the lobby and says, um, our insurance cover. You know, you would. We need things like this to spread the word to people, man. Definitely do. We definitely do, because like you say, we just went through COVID. You know how stressful COVID was. I feel like I have. I keep telling people that I feel like I have. Um, I don't want to definitely say PTSD, but at least anxiety from going through COVID. And it seems like, not that we're out of it fully yet, but it seems like um, jobs don't really say, you know, reach out to someone to speak to somebody about how you've dealt with it. I've had COVID twice, and I am so freaking scared of getting COVID again, because both times I was freaking sick, and I'm scared of COVID. I ain't gonna lie. I'm scared of getting it again, and I'm scared for my child, my family, or anybody to get COVID again from anybody. Because look how many people went through tough times with it and still are. Debo Blacks, what's going on? Welcome, bro. Yes, sir. Mental health is on the uprise, and I'm glad that people are listening and talking about it. So um, again, please don't be afraid to say something to a friend. You Even if you, like I said, you as a friend, you see something that might be off a little bit with somebody. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, man, what's going on with you?" You may not come out, and you're not clinically professional to diagnose somebody, but as a friend, you should be able to say, "Hey, bro, what you did is or hey sis, you know, um, that don't sound right, man. Let's go talk to somebody. Let's sit down and let me hear what you have to say. Talk to me about something. Even somebody to listen to sometimes could make a huge difference. So again, as a friend, don't be afraid to listen to your friends. I'll say this. Um, I went to high school, graduated high school. I started high school in '93, and there's a group of friends that I came up with from that time, and and I said we are close knit friends where sometimes we may act crazy and what have you is, but when we have to go through something and we can reach out to any one of us and say, hey man, um, so and so and so, and I trust fully that these friends that I have will give me their genuine opinion on on what they on suggestions, and would definitely reach out to me and says, "Hey, Colin, hey, we're thinking of you, bro." And sometimes that's what somebody needs. Sometimes that's what one person needs is just somebody to say, "Listen, we're thinking of you." All right. So again, as a friend, don't be afraid to say, um, no, talk to me. What you gotta say, because getting something off your chest it makes a big difference a lot of times. All right. Um, One more time, mental health helpline. Call or text 8333-733-2445 24/7. That's one option right there. Another option you got is masshelpline.com. Um, you could, if you want to speak to somebody directly, privately, and confidentially, text HOME to 741-741. Um, those definitely one options. And like Globe pointed out earlier, we have also 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Okay. I definitely appreciate you guys who checked in, who chimed in, who listened. When this comes up, once I logged off of here, this is one of the ones that you definitely want to share. Share it on your live, share it on your platform. Tell a friend to reach out and have them share it, man, because a conversation, this is not the beginning of it, and hopefully it's not the end of it. We need to just keep talking about it, and like Glow says, make it like a second language. Make it a second language that everybody can get rid of that stigma of thinking mental healthness means weakness. It doesn't mean weakness. Okay, it just means that we're going through some and we need somebody to listen to what we have to say until we can get our mind where it needs to be. Appreciate you guys. Join me next week. This is a regular weekly podcast. I'm hoping next week we'll have something a little bit more uplifting than talking about mental illness, and go on to another topic. I'm hoping to have a guest next week. So join me next week while we talk to somebody again, somebody else. And in the meantime, download the app, please. Times International Radio. Get the app. We got music running. The live shows on there. We got different DJs on there. Um, so anytime you want to listen to some music, if you're feeling stressed out, you want to listen to some music, just open up the app and turn on some music. Music is definitely a cure for um, feeling stressed out. All right, download the app, man. iPhones, Androids, and listen to some good music. All right, appreciate you guys. Peace out.